Isn't that a song? It feels like the first time. Who sang that song? Feels like the first time.
Foreigner, isn't
Foreigner? I think you're right. Welcome to Beacon of Speech. What is Beacon of Speech about? It's selling freedom of speech to everyone. If I had a copy of the First Amendment, which I don't, I would take it and I wave it into the camera that we do not have. Free speech is under constant assault in America today. The problem is it's coming from two places that's very hard to fight. PC madness from the left and from the right corporations. The concept that we're all in this together in America is lost. I can't even read the script today. I'm doing horrible. America is supposed to lead by example, not force its will onto other countries. What are limits of freedom of speech? Pure evil. Evil is debatable. Pure evil is absolute. Like it or not, a lot of the Constitution is based on vague Christian principles. There is a God, just unclear over which religious entities have the correct message. And because it's winter, why is it called Beacon of Speech? Beacons aren't very effective during the daylight. You have a beacon on during the day and you're just flushing money down the toilet. We never even get to that line. Now, usually I'm already done reading by then, so I got my outline out.
Flushing money down the toilet, just like the Powerball, all the money we spent on that.
It's ironic that you bring up the Powerball. That's our first topic today. And on my outline, again, I only have like 3 things on my outline today. I've been getting lazier in my outline, so I apologize, Ted. But the number one topic is, why do the terrorists hate us? Okay? And you can say because of this, that they hate this. Or, you know why they hate us? Because yesterday we gave away $1.5 billion, with a B, dollars in the Powerball. Mm-hmm. Okay? I think that terrorists hate us just because they're flat out jealous. What other country could have a $1 billion lot? Do you think there'd ever be a $1 billion lottery in Saudi Arabia or Iran?
No.
Or Qatar or Yemen?
So are they opposed to gambling? I mean, I assume they are. But
yeah, if you're into the religion, you're not supposed to be gambling. But at the end of the day, if you're a good Christian, you're not supposed to be gambling either.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that, I remember being a kid, right? And I didn't go to Catholic school, but I went to PSR. And some kid, every year, some smart aleck kid would go to the nun or the priest and go, "Isn't bingo gambling?" "Shut up, kid. That's different. That's a different kind of gambling. That's gambling for God."
Now, the question I have, when you went to PSR, mm-hmm. Did you go to like a Catholic school at night and sit like in one of their classrooms?
Yeah.
Is that how that worked?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, what had happened is you go to the public school during the day, and then one night a week you would go to the Catholic school, and then you'd sit in the Catholic school, the kids' desks.
Yeah.
Because every year, the teacher would yell at us. They're like, "These aren't your desks. This is little Jimmy Malone's desk."
Yeah.
And Jimmy Malone, his parents pay so much in tuition, and they're basically letting you sit at their desk.
I was Jimmy Malone.
Oh, okay. So you went to the Catholic school, and did the
so you were a Catholic, but you went to public school.
Yes.
Okay.
And we've talked about this on the podcast before, or webcast. I apologize. On the webcast before, my dad was a very good Catholic, and his mom was a super good Catholic. But somewhere in my dad's brain, his cheapness overrode his Catholicism. Okay. He was a very good Catholic up to this line, where it meant spending $2,000 a year on a kid, and then he'd be like, "Holy crap, I got 3 kids." He would have had to make the hard decisions. I remember my friends who went to Padua, right? 5 kids, all of them went to Padua. And one of my friends, okay, Mike, I won't say his last name.
So Padua is a Catholic school. Okay.
Catholic high school. He went to his dad in 9th grade and said, "Listen, instead of paying for Padua, I'd like to go to the public high school, and then you pay for my college." And the dad says, "As soon as you turn 18, I ain't paying for you for crap." He goes, "It's my job to get you as a good Catholic citizen, and you are out the door."
I thought you were going to say, instead of paying for my Catholic high school, I'll go to public school and just give me the money.
Well, I'm sure in his head, that's probably what he told his dad. But he told me, why don't you spend it on my college? So, but back to the terrorists. That's why they hate us. $1.5 billion Powerball. I mean, I can't sum it up anymore. Anything else with religion, that's all cursory. They want to come to a place where they wake up in the morning and they're like, I have hope that I can win the Powerball. Well, guess what? For the one guy that won, there's 299,999,999 losers.
Yeah.
Or 97, I guess there are 3 winners. But instead of, I'm going to get shot or get thrown off the roof because I'm gay, they want the hope that, they can win Powerball one day. I mean, literally, I think that's all it is. I want to be able to dream. I want to be able to hope. I don't want to eat sand that blows in my face at the end of the day.
And it's almost every state that does Powerball, right?
Yes, they said it on the way home. They're actually talking about it. They said 44 states, and there's 6 that don't do it. And I don't know if I can get all 6.
Yeah.
But I know it's Alaska, Hawaii.
Do not do
not.
Okay.
Alaska, Hawaii. Utah does not do it because they're Mormon. Oh, I remember. Nevada, they don't do it because they don't want Powerball. They don't want Powerball to take away from the casinos, right?
Every day is Powerball.
Yeah, every day is Powerball at the casino. Why do we need another Powerball game? And then for some reason, Alabama and Mississippi don't.
Yeah.
So, and again, we didn't win. Nobody in our state won. 3 people in the state won the backup prize, the $1 million.
Yes.
But the one ticket that was sold closest to us was at the Galleria. Did you go to the Galleria and buy a ticket?
No, maybe Carl did.
No, I don't think. I think when Carl goes at Galleria, he gets spun around too much. I had to look out the window to see if Carl was here. We'll put it politely, but we don't want Carl to be confused. But you know who broadcasts out of the Galleria, don't you? It's WKNR.
Yeah, that's Rizzo, right?
Yeah, Rizzo on the radio. So. I mentioned it like in webcast number 6 that everybody has an arch nemesis, right? And you just might not know who yours is. Well, if I get into broadcasting, I already know who mine is because the person I hate most in broadcasting is Aaron Goldhammer at WKNR. And so,
it's not Rizzo.
No, Rizzo's okay. Rizzo has his moments. He's one of those guys who's really good at his job. You love him. The next day, you hate him. But then you still listen to his show. It's the gift. It's the Howard Stern gift. Mm-hmm. And we'll get back to Howard Stern later. But it's the gift. If you can get people who don't like you to listen, you're doing your job. Yeah. Because it seems like the more people hate you and they don't turn off, the more engaged you are. Yeah, whereas Aaron Goldhammer, I hear his voice, it's like click, click, click. So, yeah, I hate that guy. And again, hopefully one day I will be on the radio and I can flesh out my hate for Aaron Goldhammer more. So
you could delve into your.
Yeah, I could delve in. This could be my therapy. Yeah. Therapy Thursday. Talking about Therapy Thursday. I'm gonna change gears. A little bit. That house that blew up in Northfield. Did you hear about that?
Yeah, I did.
Did you hear about they found out the cause?
Yeah.
That's horrible.
Yes, it is.
So for people who don't know, a house blew up on Monday, and everybody assumed it was a gas leak because there was a house that blew up in Garfield Heights, right? Because of a gas leak like 3 years ago, wasn't it?
Yeah, I guess. Yeah.
Was that Maple Heights or Garfield Heights?
It was Maple Heights.
Maple Heights.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
But yeah, it was only like 3 years ago.
Yeah, it was on Dunham.
Yeah.
Or. On the corner of Dunham and something else. In
my life, houses blowing up is not that uncommon. It seems like when I was growing up, every couple of years there was a house blowing up in Cleveland. Yeah. And they're like, gas leak. Well, sometimes had to do with the mob, but, gas leak. And I remember a house blew up right by 15559, or 569, don't say their name, right? But it blew up right there because somebody took out their copper piping.
Yeah.
And then the gas filled the house, and then they flicked a cigarette in there, house blew up. And I'm like, well, what do you mean the house just blew up with a thing? And they're like, well, they stole the copper pipes. Well, what does that have to do with anything? Oh, well, they nicked the gas line, house fills with gas, cigarette, boom. So houses blowing up in Cleveland, it's not really that uncommon. And so when the house blew up in Northfield, everybody's like, oh, well, gas leak. Well,
I mean, that's what I thought.
Yeah,
but when they said, oh, they've ruled out gas leak, I'm like, well, what else could it be?
Right.
Right.
And so it goes back to, we were talking about mental illness just a few seconds ago. every week it seems like we talk about guns. I don't know why that's bouncing for. One of the icons on my thing, okay, I'm not going to open that, so we're going to hit OK. And hopefully we're still good, and we're still recording. There we go, we're back.
Maybe I should wear those things that horses wear so that they can't see.
Oh, no, that's fine. Yeah, because I was kind of wondering why it was
because
bouncing.
I'm getting distracted by that.
It's the bouncing ball. So anyhow, we talk about guns, right? Well, what would happen if you took away all the guns in Northfield from that crazy guy? Well, basically what he did, he's like, well, I don't have a gun, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to put gas all over my house with this gas can, and then I'm going to let the house fill with gas, and then I'm going to light it and blow up the house.
Yeah.
And I was listening to radio, and some guy texted into the Triv show.
So it was just regular gasoline, and he just poured it?
Well, they said they found him with the gas can next to him. But he had been institutionalized recently and they found the gas can, but they're still trying to get the details. But the speculation is he turned on the gas and then put the gas can out, and then he wanted an explosion. He didn't want a little fire. He wanted a.
Well, that's what
boom,
I wondered about, because when they
neighborhood.
said they ruled out a natural gas leak or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
they ruled out natural gas. I'm wondering, well, how does just regular gasoline, how does that explode? I mean, it doesn't normally explode, does it?
No, but I guess if you leave it open, in an open container, it can fill the room or something.
The fumes from the gasoline?
Fumes, yeah. And again, we're speculating, but they're pretty sure that it was a murder-suicide.
Yeah.
Well, if there were no guns, they texted into the local radio show. They said, well, are we going to ban gas now? You know what I mean? It's like, well, what does gas do? At the end of the day, it runs your car, but, it blows up. It blows up every couple of years. And there's gas in literally every house in America, except for those Alaskan bush people, have gas in their house.
Yeah.
Well, you blow up the house, and people keep blowing up houses. What are we going to do? We can't ban gasoline. I got to run my dryer. I need clean, dry clothes.
Maybe there should be a background check
before you sign up with Columbia Gas. So yeah, that's why the terrorists hate us, is because of the Powerball. Okay, because they're flat out jealous. Okay. Now, the other reason they hate us, there's two reasons. And I wrote them down. One is the Powerball. And the number two reason, they don't know they hate us because of this, but you can delve into it. But this is why they hate us, is because as of yesterday, in the NFL, the St. Louis Rams are now officially the LA Rams. You know this, correct?
I think I heard that.
Yes, because they're getting a $1.8 billion with a B dollar stadium in Inglewood, which is basically the Parma of Los Angeles.
Okay.
And so it's not that far. It's 10 minutes away. It's still basically LA.
So they're back to being the Los Angeles Rams.
They're 100% the LA Rams. It is a done deal. It is finalized.
Now, do you remember when they moved from Los Angeles to, what was it, St. Louis?
St. Louis, yes.
Was that in the late 80s, or do you remember when it was?
I think it was the 80s. I think it was the late 80s, because I remember, weren't they in the 84 Super Bowl as the LA Rams?
They were in the 80.
80.
January of 80 when they played Pittsburgh.
Okay, so
I was...
84 was the Olympics in LA.
Yeah.
And then they went and they won the Super Bowl in the 90s with Kurt Warner.
That was St. Louis.
Yeah, that was St. Louis. So somewhere in there, somewhere between.
Yeah.
But it's a moot point, because St. Louis basically lured them out of LA, and then they won a Super Bowl, right? Well, again, why did they lure them out? Because St. Louis moved to Arizona. Well, at some point, the NFL should stop this, but they don't. They promote it. Now St. Louis is moving back to LA because they're going to build a $1.8 billion stadium, housing, shopping center, metroplex, right? And what I saw, it looked nice as hell. But again, if you're in the desert, right, and you're kicking around the sock ball, I love soccer, and we're going to go play in the sand, and it's $1.8 billion for a new football, not for a brand new football team, but just to move it across the country. And it's amazing. And they won two teams, and they voted to give the Raiders, the Oakland Raiders, and the San Diego Chargers $100 million to try and come up with a solution in San Diego and Oakland.
Okay.
If San Diego cannot get a solution in 1 year from San Diego, did I say San Diego?
Yeah.
Okay. If they can't
So
get it,
what? The St. Louis Rams are definitely moving to Los
100%.
Angeles.
It's official. As of today, they're the LA Rams.
Okay.
San Diego has 1 year to figure things out with their city. Well, they said if you can't figure it out with this $100 million
Well, what's
loan,
their problem? They're in an old, crappy stadium.
yeah, and they want a brand new stadium. But their argument is we can't build a $1.8 billion stadium in San Diego.
Yeah.
We're an hour away from LA. We can't do it. We can't afford it. We have other problems. And the NFL's like, oh, well, we're building this $1.8 billion one in LA.
See, for some reason, I really hope that San Diego, the Chargers, stay in San Diego.
Oh, I hope they. I don't want any team to leave. Okay.
Yeah.
I don't want any team to leave because after they left here, I take that back. Jacksonville, they can suck it. Okay, they can move to London because I want to see the.
Why are they thinking about doing that?
Yeah, they're thinking about going to London. So I want to hear the logistical nightmare of them going to London. Like, we get paid $4 million a year, but we don't want to do a transatlantic
what's their problem?
flight.
Florida has too many teams, and people aren't paying attention
Yeah,
to Jacksonville.
they said Jacksonville's not a big enough market. People aren't paying at Jacksonville. People love college football. Everybody who lives in Jacksonville is either a fan of New England or the Giants. You know, the same thing with the Tampa Bay baseball team.
No, I have a question
The
for
Rays.
you. This probably would have been in the, I don't know, mid to late 70s, but I remember the Miami Dolphins, tell me if you remember this, were threatening to move to Alabama. They were going to be called the Birmingham.
Yes.
Do you remember that?
Yes.
Okay.
Because now, again, and I'm sorry to play football trivia with you, because they were threatening to move in the 80s, you said, right?
Yeah, I think it was like the late 70s, maybe.
And they were threatening because when the USFL came in, it was the Birmingham Stallions, if I correct, in the USFL. And they were one of the more successful teams in the USFL. They weren't the successful team, but they weren't a bottom feeder either. I believe it was the Birmingham Stallions.
Mm-hmm.
And 1 year in the 90s, the CFL, the Canadian Football League, said we cannot make it in just Canada with 7 teams or 8 teams.
Mm-hmm.
And they tried to expand into America, and that crashed and burned and almost bankrupted the CFL. I think they tried to bump Birmingham Stallions again, I think, in the CFL.
Yeah.
But I'd have to look that up. And again, if we had the internet, we're back in the rock and roll break room. Basically because I'm not in the mood to deal with other people in the office. For the second week in a row, we got to get back to the rock and roll break room, out of the rock and roll break room, because we have internet access up front, and I can tell you more about the Birmingham Stallions. But I believe you are correct that almost every team is threatened to move. Yeah. And even teams that don't threaten to move, the Dolphins, they moved from the Orange Bowl to... Didn't they move to a different stadium outside the Orange Bowl?
Is it Joe Robbie?
Joe Robbie Stadium, yeah.
It's still called that?
I believe it's Joe Robbie Stadium. If it's not, it's, ABC.com.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? One of these .com places. And I remember when I was a kid, I shouldn't say kid, but when I was younger, they didn't have all these naming rights. Right? It was Cleveland Stadium or Baltimore Stadium or,
Yeah, there was no corporate, Progressive or
Candlestick.
Right.
And now they're like, well, you got to call it because that's what they're paying for is advertising rights. Well, I'm glad that you're bleeding every nickel out. And that's what the LA move is. San Diego, there's no way they can build a $1.8 billion stadium. There's no way. So next year, they will go to LA and there'll be 2 teams. Now, who's the odd man out? The Oakland Raiders. Now, for some reason, magical money falls out of the sky and San Diego stays in San Diego.
So you're saying there's very little chance of San Diego.
Very little chance.
But I don't know why that bothers me. For some reason, I don't care about the Rams or the Raiders, but I want San Diego to stay where they are.
Yeah, well,
And
that's because the Rams and Raiders keep moving back and forth. You know what I mean?
So screw them.
It's like that commercial with the guy with the fishing hook and the money on the end. He's yanking the money in front of you, right? That's the Rams and the Raiders. So if the Chargers decide not to stay in LA, they're like first in line. It's almost like a line. Well, what happens when San Diego says, well, next year we're going to LA? What's going to happen is the Raiders are going to come out. Oakland is not going to build them a new stadium. They're just not. Okay? And then St. Louis is going to come back with $1 billion stadium, and then it'll be the St. Louis Raiders. That's what the end game is.
Okay, so San Diego's problem is their stadium is old and crappy, and they don't have money. Is that the same problem in Oakland too?
Yes. But my understanding
this is all about stadiums.
It's all about stadiums, nothing else. San Diego said that we will improve the stadium, I think it is. And they're like, no, we want a $1.8 billion. Well, we all want things. There has to be a certain community trust when it says San Diego Chargers. The city should work with the team. Well, they're like, well, we're the NFL. We want the shiniest quarters that you can give us. And if the city down this road is going to give us shiniest nickels or quarters or whatever, that's where we're going. Ted's shaking his head. That doesn't translate to radio. Ted.
I should know this for sure, but do the New York Giants and the New York Jets, do they share that stadium?
Yes, they just built that stadium in New York.
Okay.
And it's $1 billion stadium. They want them in New York, so they both moved to New York. And again, it wasn't about they moved out of New York to New Jersey because they paid more money in New Jersey.
Yeah.
Right? Everything in the NFL is how can we leverage and squeeze money out of these entities. And they might as well have ski masks and guns. And, we're talking about lighting things on fire, Ted. If there's no gas, if there are no guns, the NFL is going to come to your house and steal money from you some other way. Joe Mickle.
I'm just going to get my water.
Oh, I'm sorry. I mean,
no,
it's always good. We don't mind you talking. Nobody's listening, right, Ted?
Not yet.
Yeah, not yet.
I didn't mean to interrupt you.
But it's always an honor to see you.
Nice to see you guys.
Yeah, Joe, I never mentioned, that's Ted Coley, I'm Fred Hunt. This is Joe, not Joe the empty chair who stiffed us tonight.
This is another Joe.
This is, we're just loaded with Joes at this branch, so if we don't say your last name, they'll know who you are.
That's good.
So, you could be average Joe. You're just an average Joe coming in the break room.
There you go.
And then after he leaves, we'll say his name and make jokes about him. No, I'm just teasing. We're not going to do that. Joe, you can come and go as you please.
Okay.
Like I said, don't worry about that. But so the Raiders are the ones who are screwed. And so what the NFL is doing is setting up long-term, because at the end of the day, I'm going to turn around and ask you, where do the San Francisco 49ers play?
Is it still a Candlestick?
Nope. They built a brand new stadium.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
In Santa Clara, which is by San Jose, which isn't in San Francisco either.
Yeah.
So I think the end game of the NFL, again, they're not going to tell you because they're corporate scumbags, okay, is they want one Bay Area team. They want the 49ers, which isn't in Oakland and isn't in San Francisco, to be like the Northern California 49ers.
Mm-hmm.
And the Raiders are going to end up going to St. Louis, or they'll go to San Antonio or Oklahoma City. That's the end game. And then Jacksonville, I'm telling you, they're going to London. They keep talking about London. They want to expand markets. They want to put a team in England.
They have to open up that area.
Yes, exactly. They have to open up that area. And another thing is, how I always talk about the Premier League. I've read 2 articles in the last year that said, would the Premier League consider moving a team out of England? Right? Well, they said there's no way it would happen, no way it would happen. Well, if you would have told me, would a team from America go to England 20 years ago, I say there's no way it can happen.
So what have they been doing over the last few years or so? The NFL's been playing one game in London?
Yes.
Just to test the waters?
To test the waters. And at the end of the day...
And there's a decent amount of interest?
Yes.
Okay.
But their whole thing is that baseball has, we have games in Japan. And there's people who follow baseball in Japan. There's people who follow In Mexico, people who thought, baseball is a world game. Basketball, they said China is the biggest consumer of NBA basketball outside of America.
Mm-hmm.
And basically, the NFL is America's game, right? Well, they're like, well, that's great. We're glad that we squeeze every red cent out of these Americans, but we have to do something. There's no money in buying the CFL, right? Because other than okay, it's going to be the Toronto Argonauts and the Montreal Alouettes, right? I think those are the only two cities with teams in major markets, right? The NFL does not want to absorb the Ottawa Rough Riders or the Edmonton Eskimos. You know what I mean?
Now, do you watch the CFL at all?
If it's on, I'll watch it for a few minutes, but I'm not a hardcore NFL guy where I would be
CFL.
watching. Well, no. Like my father-in-law, he loves the NFL, and if the NFL's not on, he's almost like a junkie. He's like, oh, arena ball, CFL, college. Did you watch that? Did you watch that high school football? No, I didn't watch the high school game between St. Ed's and St. Ignatius. Why would I watch that?
So the CFL, when does their season start? Does it?
Oh, it starts like in July and it ends in like October. Because, they can't be having games in December or else, all the planes would crash and there'd be frozen things all over I shouldn't say that because they have a couple of good college hockey teams in Alaska and their planes never crash. I'm being a jerk to the Canadians, so I apologize. So, but that's why I wanted to start. And then I know we already started to talk sports, but, we're talking about billions of dollars for literally nothing and toys. You know what I mean? And this is what America's about now.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? There is no $2 billion deal, to feed the poor or public housing. We already spend too much on the poor. We got to spend $2 billion on the Powerball. And they're like, well, it's apples and oranges because it's how many people buy tickets. No. People in other countries, they don't know the nuts and bolts. All they do is look and they're like, well, the Ayatollah said they're playing a $2 billion lotteries for, damn dirty Americans.
Mm-hmm. It just looks immoral and.
Oh yeah. Just flat out. And especially when your country doesn't believe in gambling, and basically the whole country of America is a big gambling cesspool. And I'm not saying I'm not above it because I gamble. I play Powerball.
Yeah.
You play Powerball, there's a casino up there. It's not like we're morally opposed to gambling. We don't have enough money to gamble. Our boss makes triple what we make. He's at the casino literally every day. Yeah, I know you got a big smirk on your face because that's true. I'm going to take a 2-hour lunch. And then he's like, oh, I can't hear because all the bells and whistles are feeding back in my ear. So, but talking about football, since this is where we're at, okay, Lawrence Phillips, okay, in the past week or two, great people have died, okay?
And
Lawrence
Phillips was not one of them.
Lawrence Phillips was definitely not one of them. Lemmy Kilmister died. David Bowie died. Alan Rickman just died this morning. We're going to come back to David Bowie, right? But all those people who died, literally the front page of CNN is blah, blah, blah died, okay? Well, in the small corner of the sports section of the USA Today, today is January 14th, it said Lawrence Phillips died, okay? Now, I'm surprised he lived to be 40. And because you're such a football fan, we just talked about football for 15 minutes. Mm-hmm. I asked you before we did the webcast, do you know who Lawrence Phillips is? I'll ask you again. Do you know who Lawrence Phillips is?
I do not. It does not ring a bell.
Now, Lawrence Phillips at one time was compared to Eric Dickerson in college. They said he's the next Eric Dickerson. Okay? Now, I'm going to read this short article from the USA Today, and then I'm going to cut it off, right? It says about every 2 months, and let me make sure I'm not reading okay. This is in today's USA Today. About every 2 months, Hall of Famer and former Nebraska football coach Tom Osborne said, and you know who Tom Osborne is. Okay. Well, you're familiar with Nebraska football.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. He could count on getting a letter from former running back Lawrence Phillips, But Osborne said none of those letters, including the last one he received in November, prepared him for what he heard Wednesday. Phillips, the former Nebraska star running back who was facing murder charges, was found unresponsive in his cell and taken to a hospital where he was pronounced dead early Wednesday. Okay, he died age 40, found dead in prison. Prison officials are investigating it as a suicide. His letters were usually generally upbeat, which is why I'm really surprised he killed himself, Osborne told USA Today. I feel really bad because here's a guy who had a lot of potential, not just as an athlete, but as an intelligent guy. And he said, he made some mistakes, but he also wasn't quite the evil person some people think that he was. Okay? In his last letter, Osborne said, Phillips expressed interest in Nebraska's football season and addressed his own plight. He was serving a 31-year prison sentence for assaulting a former girlfriend and driving his car into a group of teenagers.
Wow.
While he was serving time for that offense, just a couple of months ago, he killed his cellmate. Okay? Now, does this just sound like a misguided football star? Okay?
Yeah.
Now-
It's funny how we're the ones who misunderstand.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like we're the ones who need to be corrected.
Yeah. Osborne, head coach on the 1994-95 national championship teams on which Phillips starred, said the letters reflected Phillips' intelligence. He was a good writer, Osborne said. He was an intelligent guy. He was quite articulate, probably very different than the average person would think. Okay? Now, this is one. Now, this.
And Hitler was a painter.
Well, yeah, but that's my whole point. And this is where the first time I heard about Lawrence Phillips was, and this is why I was starting to tell you, during Phillips' junior season in Nebraska, he assaulted a former girlfriend, and this is while he was still in the program, and Osborne suspended him for 6 games. He found out the girlfriend was cheating on her, grabbed her by the hair, dragged her down the steps, and beat the crap out of her. A lot of people do that in college, right? Well, they suspended him for 6 games, and then the legendary coach drew criticism when he reinstated Phillips for the national championship game. Okay? I felt the only thing I could put in place that would keep him on track was keeping him in football.
Yeah.
So, back to our theory about everybody's doing everybody a favor, right? Tom Osborne only did it to help poor Lawrence Phillips. Because only the structure of football could keep him out of trouble. Well, while I was researching about Lawrence Phillips, who died today at age 40, suicide, right? Now, again, you don't know who Lawrence Phillips is. Everything I'm reading to you is all news to you. You don't remember seeing Lawrence Phillips on the news.
I actually don't.
Yeah. So, he bounced around from NFL team to NFL team. He got everywhere he went, he got into trouble. Okay? And again, all anybody saw was talent. Nobody saw, basically, a sociopath. Right? And so he was a really good football player. We'll give him a... So I'm looking up Lawrence Phillips stuff, to try and explain to you who Lawrence Phillips is. Okay? Now, I came across a website. It's called thecomplex.com. And you know how we used to do top 10 lists?
Mm-hmm.
Well, this is the top 10 list from complex.com. From 2014, okay? Who, and I'm going to make you guess, who had the longest rap sheets in the history of sports? Longest rap sheets in the history of sports.
In all sports?
All sports, okay? Now, I'm going to cheat, okay? Number 10 on the longest rap sheets in the history of sports, number 10, Lawrence Phillips.
Wow.
7 arrests, dragging ex down flight of stairs, 2005, running over a group of teenagers, almost single-handedly responsible for the NFL having a personal conduct policy, blah, blah, blah.
So when he ran over those teenagers, that was in 2005?
Yes.
And that's what he was currently in jail for?
Yes, that's what he was in jail for, and then I believe it was in 2015 that he killed his cellmate, and then for killing his cellmate, he was facing the death penalty.
Oh, okay.
And again, everybody makes mistakes. Everybody does something once. This guy, from what I used to read, because he had troubles in college, is that he could have been arrested more times, but he was the star of the Nebraska football team. So it's like wink, wink, nudge, nudge. We'll get him into the game. He'll be okay. I vouch for him. And Tom Osborne ran for the Senate. He either ran for Senate or House of Representatives in Nebraska, based off of his football career, and he was in the Congress.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, basically, he parlayed turning a criminal into a good football player into a political career. But then, I wish I could go back and coaching Nebraska. Now, people in Nebraska, if they listen to us, are like, oh, you're oversimplifying, you're a jerk, we hate you. There's more than Tom. But again, everything in America goes back to risk and reward. You know what I mean? Well, you did this, and this, but you're the best football player. You come to our school, win us a championship. That's another reason the terrorists hate us.
I'm just sitting here trying to think of who the number one.
We'll go back to the list. We'll go back because I don't think you'll know number one.
No.
Okay. But so number 10 is Lawrence Phillips. He was on the top 10 longest rap sheets in sports. Okay. So now you're learning about Lawrence Phillips, right? It's not Tom Osborne's fault that he killed his cellmate. Even though they're corresponding, Tom Osborne's like, well, he's locked away in jail. He ain't coming to kill me.
Now, just a question. After he killed his cellmate, did they give him a new cellmate? Or did they pretty much give up on...
I think they put him in solitary confinement, but I don't know. That's a great question. How would you like to be his next cellmate? It's like,
cellmate.
Hey, Lawrence, I used to watch Nebraska games, and you are awesome. I loved watching you in Nebraska. He was probably kissing that guy's butt. But out of the top 10, I think you've heard of 8. So, okay, number 9, Doc Gooden.
Yeah.
I guarantee you, because I don't have it, I just wrote the name. Past Lawrence Phillips, I just wrote the names down.
Now, his problem was mainly just drugs, right?
Oh, yeah.
He never did anything like violent.
No, I think everything was either drugs or getting drugs. You know what I mean? Like, if anything, he would have stole to get drugs. You know what I mean? Or drug possession. Number 8 is Pac-Man Jones. We talked about it last week. The Pittsburgh, Cincinnati.
You know what's funny? How old is he? Because he's
only like 26, maybe 28.
Because I swear it seems like he's been around forever and he's been getting in trouble forever.
Because he's like Lawrence Phillips. He's been getting in trouble his whole life.
Yeah.
But because he's got all this talent, they're like, well, if we could just set up some structure. You know what? I'm going to make a prediction. Pac-Man Jones dead by 40. Okay? You know what? Our predictions only go 2 years. Maybe I shouldn't. But my prediction on the radio, Pac-Man Jones dead by 40. He's basically Lawrence Phillips of our generation. Because like I said, Lawrence Phillips bounced around from team to team, but he couldn't stay out of trouble. Okay? Number 7, you'll get a kick out of this. Dennis Rodman.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So, number 6, Todd Marinovich. And again, maybe this isn't updated because it's 2014. Maybe somebody snuck into the top 10. So again, I gotta remind you, it's 2014. You remember Todd Marinovich?
The name sounds familiar.
Todd Marinovich, he's the one who his dad was a quarterback and he wanted to make his son a quarterback. He basically drove him crazy. And he got to the NFL and he was such a head case, he washed out like in 2 years. Lawrence Taylor.
Yeah.
And Lawrence Taylor, he was a bad... He just got arrested for... like underage prostitution just like 2 years ago.
Yeah, I think you're right.
And and I love Lawrence Taylor, okay? But his defense was I didn't know she was underage. And they bought it. They said, well, he thought she was 18. He thought he was paying for it 18 years. He didn't know. And so he got out of jail. You could come in. If you have a question, we're just talking about teenage prostitutes.
Oh, well, that's exciting.
Were you looking for me or Ted, or you just looking to see what's going on?
Oh, no, I was talking to Ryan, and
Oh, okay.
I enjoy hearing you guys speak. So.
Oh, well, thank you.
I miss hearing it up front.
Well, we were going to go back up, but you seemed a little frustrated this week, so we'll go back up front next week. Last week we didn't go up front because of Ray Merck.
Oh, well, yeah, no comment.
So we came back here. Hopefully things will be calmer, and there won't be, things that happened to you last week will be out of your head. And
Thank God.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, Ted, when you're done, I'll be here if you want to see me before you leave. I forgot to mention something to
Are you
Oh, okay.
are you going to be here for? We're probably got maybe
Oh,
20 minutes, half an hour. You'll still be here.
No, I might as well just put a cot up there.
Fair enough, Ted. Ted,
guys
you got to
have fun.
see you later.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. So anyhow, number 5, Lawrence Taylor, and he got away with it too, because he's like, I didn't pay for a child prostitute. I paid for a regular prostitute, and they're like, you're Lawrence
So all
Taylor.
you have
we
to say is you
understand."
didn't know, and
Well, I think now again, we're splitting hairs here. I think his defense was he went to like a guy and said, "I want a prostitute," and the guy said, "Okay, here's a prostitute." And even the John said, "Oh no, he didn't ask for a teenage prostitute. Jesus, Janiqua was down the street, so Janiqua, Lawrence Taylor's here. Come on down and would,
so if he specified, then he would have been in trouble.
I think he would have been in trouble, or say he went to Thailand.
Okay.
You know what I mean? And I think they might even had somebody say, well, he's come to me before and he just asked for prostitutes. He didn't ask for a teenage prostitute. Because he's not in jail now. He got off.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I don't know what the technicality was. I mean, for all I know, that wasn't the technicality. Maybe the judge said, you're Lawrence Taylor. I understand that you're a mistake, and he's wearing his Giants jersey under his robe. So that, for all I know, that's what happened.
He was a good football player, though.
Oh, yeah. And that's the thing, Parcells said he loved Lawrence Taylor. Well, it's the same thing. They knew he was a bad boy. But, you loved him. Go sack the quarterback. Left, right, sack the quarterback. Hey, I'm a genius. I'm a genius because I attach my name to Lawrence Taylor.
I think that team hurt more quarterbacks than any other team. The
Oh,
Giants, they were just brutal.
Yeah. And I'm telling you, Lawrence Taylor is one of those old-time maniacs that you like. You're like, oh, hey, yeah. The frothing at the mouth, go knock somebody out. That's what the old school NFL was all about. Number 4, I never heard of either. I'd have to look up. Again, say we were doing this, people could tweet in us or whatever. If we were doing this live. Marlon King, he's a soccer player. I'm not familiar with him.
Yeah, I know.
Number 3, I guarantee you know, Art Schleister.
Oh, yeah.
Gambling, extortion, money law, whatever.
Ohio State.
Yeah, Ohio State. But even he was still,
Who did he play with, the Colts?
he played with the Colts, but he just went back to jail literally like 2 or 3 years ago for more stuff. He's like, he would go around the country and say, I cleaned up from gambling. I found a new gambling habit, and it's called life.
Yeah.
And he was a motivational speaker. And then all of a sudden, like, I heard him on different radio shows. He would make the rounds. I want to say he was on Jim Rome's show, but I'm not 100% sure on that. He's like, I've turned my life around, and I tell young people. Well, his whole scam was he was going around getting inside scoops about everything and betting again. I mean, he was literally the, every angle he could get.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so they said most arrests. Number 3 was Art Schleister. But like I said, he was getting in trouble gambling at Ohio State, at Indianapolis, after his career, right up until, for all I know, he's gambling as we speak. He's, they're betting on cards, and they got matches and cigarettes on the table. That's how hardcore Art. When you think of gambling, and I'm being dead serious, when you think of hardcore gamblers, you probably think of 3 athletes: Michael Jordan, right?
Pete Rose.
Pete Rose and Art Schleister. Would you say that's true?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you know what's funny? I remember hearing about Art Schleister that, like his friends or whatever said that he never smoked, he didn't drink, no other vices, but that one was just...
Yeah, that like ate his brain out.
Yep.
Number 2, Isaiah Ryder. He was an NBA player. He was on the Portland Trailblazers, I want to say.
Wow.
They said he had been arrested over 30 times.
Wow.
And then number 1 was a basketball player named Eddie Johnson. He got arrested over 100 times in his life. Now, I don't even know who Eddie Johnson is.
Yeah, I don't either.
But so we basically knew everybody except for, Marlon King and Eddie Johnson. But it said, when I looked up the article, it said Eddie Johnson at one time played for the Atlanta Hawks. And he basically did everything, but
It didn't say the time period?
No. But it looked, from the card that I saw in the picture, it looked like maybe 70s.
Yeah.
But I know who Eddie Johnson was the basketball player, but I'm reading it, and all I could think of was Eddie Johnson, the football player on the Cleveland Browns.
Yeah.
He was an awesome guy.
Yeah.
So let me be very clear. Eddie Johnson, the basketball player, Eddie Johnson, the NFL linebacker, from almost everything I heard, he was one of the nicest guys, great guy, give you the shirt off your back guy, did all kinds of charity work.
Mhm.
I think Bernie Kosar said, he had passed away.
Yeah, that's right.
And Bernie Kosar said he was one of the lights in the whole
Yeah.
world that he had ever met.
Yeah, he had cancer, didn't he?
I believe it was. But it goes back to
Yeah.
all these NFL guys die young, even if it's not CTE, it's cancer, it's like all those WWE guys. You know what I mean? Like, it's almost like a dark cloud over the sport because it's such a violent sport. I remember Andre the Giant, he didn't die of cancer, he died of gigantism, because he's a big giant. And they said giants don't live that long. So I'm reading this article, and like, it was at complex.com, and I'm reading about Lawrence Phillips, and I just can't get over, like, everybody's like, oh, you know what, he was misguided. This is, again, and now we're going to go back to the terrorists, right? If you screw up, now, the terrorists are okay. If you drag your woman down the steps and you beat her, that's fine because she's your woman.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's your prerogative. You don't get arrested for that. Okay? But some of the other offenses, you get your hand chopped off, your leg chopped off, thrown off the building, blah, blah, blah. Right? So Lawrence Phillips probably would not have made it in those other countries. Okay?
No.
The violence to women they can overlook. They're like, oh, Lawrence, I did that, to my woman last week.
Yeah, they're not very kind to women.
No. So I think they could get by. And again, different sports. Oh, you still play soccer next week. Yeah, we're good to go. Your woman not talk anymore. She no longer around. So again, but once you do it over and over and over again, and again, I don't know him for his play because they said Nebraska won 94-95 championships. I wasn't a Nebraska fan. The only reason I knew Nebraska football was because of Lawrence Phillips getting arrested, and they're like, oh, it's not fair that he's playing. It's not, there should be a personal conduct policy. And I'm telling you, the personal conduct policy that everybody's screaming about now all stems from Lawrence Phillips.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it might as well be the Lawrence Phillips rule.
Mm-hmm.
Well, he was a smart guy. He was in the wrong element. Let me ask you a question. Let's say he went and played for the USC Trojans. Well, you're in LA. How many people in Lincoln, Nebraska, how many bad influences did he have in Nebraska? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's why I don't buy that for a second. So, I got to tell you, before I forget, I don't want to keep going about Lawrence Phillips, but, we'll talk more about the people who died and left great legacies. But Lawrence Phillips, it just rubbed me the wrong way because it's a small blurb, and I'm like, I shouldn't even know who Lawrence Phillips is.
See, and the thing is, I should know who he is.
Well, yeah, I guess
As much as I love football, I do not remember him.
That's all right, because when he was in the NFL, he really didn't do anything. I can't think of one Lawrence Phillips play that was like on SportsCenter. It's the 90s. ESPN was around. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, I got to tell you a funny story. In this magazine, there's an advertisement for this is a show Superstore, and it's on NBC.
Yeah, I've seen commercials for that.
Yeah, and I actually watched it for a few minutes, and it was funny. I watched it for like half the show,
Mm-hmm.
and then I had to leave and like pick up one of my dead cars this week. And, so anyhow, I'm watching it, and it was funny. One of the characters, I know their name because it was the first time I watched it. And they were being nice, and they said, oh, what are you doing tonight? And he's like, oh, I'm working on my blog, and I'm working on my podcast, and I'm working on this. And they're like, oh, so you're working on being a loser. And I'm like, oh, I'm so depressed. So make sure at the end, I think that I just brought in an Entertainment Weekly, because Did we do Metal Hammer magazine last week? Because I couldn't find my Metal Hammer magazine anywhere. Did we?
I think so, yeah.
Okay,
I think
well,
we did.
That must be why I couldn't find it, because I had it on last week's pile. But yeah, so that line.
I think you said you were going to shred that.
Oh yeah, because I think there was Slayer stuff in there. Oh no, I was shredding Under the Radar because it was worthless.
Okay.
The Metal Hammer magazine I liked, so maybe I did have the Metal Hammer magazine in a different pile.
Did you give it to me?
I don't know. I'll have to look. But the point of the story is that line from Superstore. It like hit way close to home because I heard it, and now we're doing the webcast, and later
Is
on I'll be
is that when you turned it off?
yeah. I'm like oh, because it hit too close to home. Not because it wasn't funny. It was funny as hell, right? But later when I'm promoting the webcast and my book and my independent movie that nobody watched, I was like the loser at Superstore, you know, because instead of what was it's not called Superstore, the store they work in. I think it's called Cloud9. Let me look. I think it's Cloud9 is the store they work in. I mean, it's a ripoff of Walmart. They can't say Walmart.
Yeah.
Right? I think it's Cloud9. So instead of Cloud9, my name tag says Iron Mountain. So I don't have any room to talk. So I think I know my place in the world is. I think it was, I'm pointing, I think it was this dork right here who had the webcast. So that
I've never seen that show, but
Uh-huh.
I watched a movie and I can't remember the name of it. That sort of seems like the same premise.
Is it that Dane Cook movie?
Yes.
Yeah, Employee of the Week.
Yeah.
Yeah, some of that hits too close to home too. So now that I'm older, I'm just an older version of the sad people on Superstore.
But would you say that's accurate though? That movie is sort of like
Yeah.
that show. Okay.
Yeah. And then when I was talking about it in Vault, I was talking to Neil, and he goes, "Oh yeah, it's not that much different than Chuck. They're at a place that's like Costco." And I'm like, oh. I'm gonna go bang my head on the wall because I'm really bummed out. Okay, so talking about things since I'm a loser, this week I was a writer for Top 10s from 2011 2015. I got about 30 articles published, and in the last 2 weeks they turned 2 of my articles into videos, and I was stunned. I was like, woohoo! So they both got a fair amount of views. I think they got 15,000 views in one day, both of them.
That's something.
Well, compared to the 8 views that I get for the webcast. But the first one was Octogenarians Gone Wild. And that was one of the top 10s lists that I had done. And they turned it into a top 10s video. And then the other one was the top 10 times the F word got into public consciousness. But they changed the title to top 10 times the F word slip past the censors. But I don't care, because like I said, the octogenarian things, I think it was all mine except for maybe one line. And then the top 10 times things snuck past the censors, because I wrote it like 3 years ago. I think they only changed like 4 lines, and it only had to do with like the change, you know, how things changed from 2013 to 2016.
And this was completely out of the blue.
Out of the blue, I had no clue. But again, they bought the rights to my articles, so they can do whatever they want with it. I'm not complaining.
No, when did you find this out that they did?
Literally this weekend.
Okay.
Yeah, and I'm not complaining, because like I said, I appreciate top 10s.
So are you checking like all the time now to see if they're doing other ones?
Well, to be honest with you, I still have 2 articles that I wrote that they paid for, right? And they didn't get published yet. So I check top 10s every day, and I don't know if they're going to turn them into a video or do nothing,
Mm-hmm.
or maybe they reread them and said, you know what, Fred Hunt really did suck, and we but I'm still going to promote them, because like I said, I like top 10s. That's why when I started reading it, and they had a little section that, like, I was going through the top 10s list, and I'm reading top 10s list like the first time. And in the corner, it said, write for us. I'm like, I would love to write for top 10s.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And again, like I said in like episode 2, they said no more freelancers. We're just going with, these 6, guys. And I didn't make the cut. I wasn't one of the 6. So no hard feelings. And like I said, I still go and check their website. I have nothing bad to say about them. I wish I was still doing articles once every week or once every 2 weeks or once every month or so. But like I said, I got nothing but good things to say about them, and at least there's some exposure. If they didn't publish my articles, I'd probably still be writing them and putting them on trees or something. You know what I mean? So I appreciate for 4 years them pacifying me. So like I said, they did me a favor. I thank them. like I said, if we want advertisements, go to top10s, toptnz.net. Go there and support their stuff. You know what I mean? I got nothing but good things to say about them. But yeah, so 2 of my things got turned into videos, so I'm promoting them today. So
That's good.
and then I could be like our boss up front. Oh yeah, but where to get you in life? I'm in charge. I'm in charge. You're just doing articles on the web. Yeah, I know. That guy bleeds blue and white. So.
And no matter who you are, you're going to have to work for a corporation, right?
Yeah. No, don't you understand? Everybody's a corporate. Yes, I know. Everybody's a corporate. If he was in here right now, he'd probably be like, that superstore is based off of Walmart. Yeah, I get it. The blue and the blue vest, I get it. It's cheap imitate. I get. Yeah, I know it's I know the secret. It's a corporation. Yeah, that still boggles my mind. So, one of the other things. So David Bowie passed away, because I don't want to just talk about Lawrence Phillips.
Yeah.
You love classic rock.
Yes.
I like classic rock. Okay, but I love David Bowie. He was awesome. Okay, and I'll tell you why I love David Bowie, but you go on and say why you love David Bowie first. So, what was your favorite David Bowie song, or didn't you have one? Or?
Favorite David Bowie song? I like China Girl. I'm trying to think. I love, him and Queen, Under Pressure.
Yeah.
That was awesome.
Yeah, my 2 favorites are Under Pressure, like you said.
Yeah.
Them and Queen, that's my favorite, duet. Not duet, but merger, or whatever you want to call it. And my favorite David Bowie song was Fame.
Fame. Okay.
Fame, I love that.
Okay.
But go ahead. So you liked Under Pressure.
Yeah. I liked Young Americans, too.
Yeah.
That was good.
If my wife was here, she would be yelling. She'd be like, "You're just Ziggy Stardust for first song to last song,
Yeah.
just period." Like it wasn't even. She's like, that's not even a song. You have to put the whole album.
I think my brother had that.
Yeah. And that's why. But he's different things to different people. And I just read an article last night. The girl who was the China Girl in real life.
Mm-hmm.
She said that David Bowie changed her life, that they very briefly dated, but even though they only dated a short time, he was a light in her life. He inspired her, and she had nothing but good things to say about him. I mean, sometimes when you date somebody, they're like, "Oh, he was a jerk," but I mean, they plucked her out, and she goes, "You don't understand what a light he was in the world."
Yeah.
And that's the type of people that, it sucks when they die early.
But did you ever... I'm not saying that it wasn't true that he was a light in the world, but did you ever hear that when he was alive?
Oh, yeah.
Did you really?
Yeah, I did, because people... Because he did so many collaborations.
I know that. I know that he worked with a lot of different...
And whenever they would interview anybody, they said he had a natural light to him. I had heard he was a light.
Yeah.
The way he carried himself. So I heard that analogy a lot.
So do you think, like me and you, do you think we'll be remembered as almost the opposite of that? We're like storm clouds?
Yeah, I think we're going to be remembered as a cold, dark world. I keep making...
We'll be remembered as a chill that rolls through the room.
Yeah. I keep making fun of the terrorists, because they're basically in Iraq and Syria, and I make jokes about the sand and stuff. And in 10 years when I'm dead, okay, because I assume that heart disease will get me one day, okay? But when I'm dead, they're going to be like, yeah, he was kind of cold, like a cold winter's day, right before it snows, there's darkness on the horizon.
You know what it reminds me of? Remember when Tim Robbins gave that speech, A Chill Wind?
Yeah.
That's what will be remembered as a chill wind.
I'll be blowing. You'll be the cold wind and I'll be the dark clouds. Teddy, even when I started, you've heard me use this analogy. You've heard me come into the branch and say, do you ever feel like there's a dark cloud following you around when you walk? I've used that analogy literally 100 times. I feel like there's a dark cloud. Like, what is it? The Addams Family, where the clouds over them?
their house.
Yeah. And people are not going to be like, oh, poor Fred Hunt. He was the light of my life.
He was an inspiration.
Yeah, the people are going to be like, you know what? That guy, there was a drum, and it was beating in a different tempo than everybody else's drum. That's going to be the nicest thing people say about me. I mean, like, he definitely had a different... I'll get a lot of backhanded compliments. Like, he definitely had a different way of thinking. He didn't kill anybody. So, which was an accomplishment, which was the way he thought to keep that under control was great. You know, so that's what I anticipate. I don't anticipate a lot of light references that I heard about David Bowie. But another thing about David Bowie that I heard a lot about is he was an explorer. He experimented. He liked to work with people, and it's like, and
see, I like to avoid people.
well, see that's why we're going to get the dark cloud and the cold breeze, because we're not David Bowie. But like you said, before he died, you know, a lot of people you hear good and bad. You know, we'll use Ray Merck because he took our studio last week, right? Now, Ray Merck, when I used to describe him, I used to say he would sell his kid to an Arab sheik for money. Okay, that's how the guy was. Okay, now if he died, I just wouldn't say anything because you know that time and place, right? But I never heard the bad things about David Bowie during his life. They never said, you know, he did this, he did that. You know, it was almost universally good, and the few bad things weren't really that bad. You know what I mean? They were like, well, you know, PG-rated bad things. You know what I mean? They weren't real bad things. You know what I mean? And again, today's not the day to discuss bad things, but I really did hear the analogy about him being a light a lot.
Yeah.
And that's why you're always... Here's the analogy for work, right? No matter where you work, here, there, everywhere, right? The Superstore, Iron Mountain, McDonald's, wherever you work, if your company is good, it is able to retain good people, right? And good companies should be able to get rid of bad people. Would you say that's a fair analogy? Yeah. So a bad company is basically a place where good people leave and the bad people stay, right? And that's basic. And I mean, it's a general rule of thumb. It's not a hard and fast rule.
Yeah.
But it's the same thing with, and I shouldn't say with David Bowie, because he wasn't a corporation. But, you know, good things here, good things. You know, you hear a lot of bad things about this or that. You know, I never heard, you know, because even when I was younger and I liked David Bowie, I never heard like, oh, okay, here's a great analogy. My dad loved Home Improvement. Okay?
Yeah.
And that was
Tim Allen.
Yeah, with Tim Allen. And he was one of my, it was one of my dad's favorite shows.
Yeah.
And he goes, why are you watching Tim Allen? Right? And I would say to my dad, why are you watching Tim Allen? He goes, what are you talking about? This is the funniest show on TV. I said, he used to sell cocaine to kids. He goes, oh, that was back in the day. Okay? Now, say Tim Allen died, right?
Yeah.
Everybody would come out of the woodwork the next day and say, Tim Allen was the funniest comedian of the generation, blah, 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 blah. And then 2 or 3 days later, a few people would be like, but he sold cocaine to those kids. You know what I mean? Now,
does your, just out of curiosity, your dad was willing to forgive Tim Allen something he did years ago?
Yes.
But, like, does he ever bring up stuff that you did years ago? Like, remember 20 years ago?
Yeah, he does.
So,
not so much anymore.
So you don't get the same...
Well, to be honest with you, my dad did do that, but then I think we've talked about it on the webcast. If not, it's not a secret. 7 years ago, I had something called Guillain-Barré.
Yeah.
Right? And after I had Guillain-Barré, my dad did not do that anymore. It was like a new dad. He's like, well, I'm just glad to have my son around, right? And it's great, right? But before I had Guillain-Barré, he was like that.
Really? It was that turned him around?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Because I think he thought that maybe that was the end Yeah.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, it's nice to have him around. But like I said, I got a great dad. He's just, me and you talk about this all the time. You had an old school dad, and I had an old school dad.
Mm-hmm.
And he was an old school dad. He's still an old school dad, but until I had Guillain Barre, he was like old school dad. After I had Guillain Barre, he was kind of like, oh, hey. He had a lighter disposition. Is your dad still old school dad, or does he have a lighter disposition?
Nah, he's lighter. No. Yeah.
So maybe there's a certain point that dads are like, I retired, or, my son, he's not going to burn down the church or anything. Maybe they have an aha moment.
So maybe all things do work for good then.
Yes. Yes. So, but you can talk about it on the webcast. It's not a big secret. You can't. And, we were talking about the Powerball earlier. I was just telling Joe the empty chair, or Joe the president, whatever you want to call him, right? I was just telling him this morning, when I got Guillain Barre, they told me I basically won the medical lottery. I'm like, why can't I win the Powerball lottery? I win the medical lottery. I don't want to win the medical. I don't want to be the guy that they experiment on. I remember when I was going through my rehabilitation, right? I'm going through my rehab, and the lady's like, oh, I've been doing this for 25 years, and I think you're maybe the number six, the sixth person I've ever seen with Guillain Barre. Not that many people come through here with that. I'm like, well, thanks.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm glad that I'm the, and once in a while, medical people, they'll be like, you had that? Like I'm a medical curiosity.
Yeah.
But I mean, I don't mind, because I lived and I don't have any, problems. Like
Yeah.
I said, I'm back to fairly normal as I was going to be. I was one of the lucky people. So
So there wasn't any permanent
no.
that you know of, any permanent.
Well, I had played soccer, but when I had it, I was like 38, 39, right? Well, my neurologist said, well, no more soccer. Well, guess what? My soccer days are over anyhow. You know what I mean?
Now, when you had that, was it the following summer that we had our softball team?
Yeah, our 0-8 softball team, we got 10 run to every game.
Now, were you completely back to normal by that time?
Oh,
or?
yeah.
Okay.
But that's basically when the anxiety ramped up, which was different stories for a different day. So, but yeah, I was basically back to normal. There wasn't anything that a 38-year-old guy couldn't do. You know what I mean? Again, I remember, and you'll get a kick out of this. This is a story about my childhood. I remember playing baseball, and I was like in 6th grade, right? And I was horrible at hitting. I was really good at fielding, right? And that's how I got my playing time, because I didn't miss anything, right? I might not have thrown very good, but I was a really good fielder. And I would always hit the ball into the ground. Every single hit I ever had, it went between two fielders. Went between second and short, or short and third, whatever, right? I was a horrible hitter, right? So one day, it was like towards the end of the season, I hit a ball, and it was a fly out. The center fielder didn't move. A ball flew to his glove, and he caught it. And I was jumping up and down going to first. And the coach was like, what are you doing? You're out. I'm like, I hit it into the outfield. And that was my last
so you were
season
like
of
pumping
baseball.
your fist like you're...
Oh, I wasn't pumping my fist. I was jumping up and down like I hit a home run. Because I hit it to the center fielder. The center fielder did not take a step. I'm like, I hit the ball to the center field. I hit the ball to center field. That was the last year I played baseball. So the softball team, I was up front with everybody. I told you I'm not a good player, but I'm good defensively. I can do this. And you played with me. Would you say I was fine in the field?
Yeah.
I wasn't like Mike Saplita. Sorry, Mike Saplita, who lost the ball in the lights and stood there. But it was funny because Mike lost some balls in the outfield, right? He lost the balls in the outfield, and at the end of the year, he said, "Yeah, I've been having trouble seeing at night." I'm like, "You should have told me the first game. I wouldn't have made you the left fielder." Every night game, he was missing balls.
Yeah, that was brutal.
Yeah, that team was horrible.
Yeah, I think every game. I don't know how many games we played. What was it, like 7 or 8? Or
we played 8 games, but I think we had a playoff game or whatever game that we got 10 run out too.
But I think every game we got beat worse than the game before.
Yeah.
It was like, it was brutal. And there was like nobody ever mentioned about doing that again.
No,
Like there was never any.
actually, Matt said he wanted me and a couple other guys to join his team.
Oh,
So
really?
Yeah, I said I retired. Well, again, I had Guillain Barré was a great excuse because I'm like, oh no, it was a deterioration of skills, but
I hate to sound
I have a lot.
like a Browns coach or whatever, but we weren't bad in practice.
No,
what
we weren't.
We had a lot of good practices, but then once we started playing, man, it was just. Oh.
No, I'm gonna let that bounce because we're getting close to the end anyhow. And I don't know why that's bouncing for. I don't want to open it up and accidentally close things off. So, but
That couldn't be some like kind of alert, could it? Like
no, something's going on. Even if it is an alert, we'll worry about that later. Something on the monitor's bouncing. As long as it's still getting the sound files, we're good. And but anyhow, so David Bowie, awesome. I mean, you can't say enough nice things about him. And then the other guy who died today was Alan Rickman. Did you see Die Hard?
yeah, but it's been a long time.
Well, he was the villain.
Yeah.
When they said
I can't even. It's been so long since I've seen it that I can't even picture what he looks
when
like.
they said "Yippee-ki-yay, mother, father,"
Yeah.
right? That was the guy
Yeah.
that they shot. And then he was in. Everybody's like, "Oh, he was Snape in Harry Potter." I'm like, I don't give a one rat's ass about Harry Potter. Okay. And then they were like, he was in blah 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 blah. The best movie I ever saw him on is Dogma. He was excellent in Dogma. It's an independent film
It
with
was
Kevin Smith.
Yeah.
And
I never saw it, but I've heard of it.
Yeah, and I'm watching Dogma, and I really liked it, right? Kevin Smith had a great idea, and he got a great bunch of friends to do it, But I honestly thought that movie could have been cast better. Like, for some reason, I got the impression it was a bad mix. Like, they didn't... I thought the script was great. I thought the idea was great. The guys that they got, I was happy with, and they all put in good performances. I just got the impression that they didn't fit well with each other.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
But Alan Rickman in that movie, stole the show. I mean, to me, he held that movie together. You know what I mean?
Can you just because like I said, it's been so long that I can't remember. What did he look like?
He old English dude. English, and he had long bangs.
Okay.
And see, if we had the internet, we would just pop up here, and I'll show you a picture afterwards. But you don't, Ted.
But I heard that this morning.
Ted, let me ask you a question. How many Harry Potter movies have you seen?
0.
Yeah, and guess how many I've seen?
0.
Yeah. So I don't give a crap that he was Snape, and my wife is like, "Oh, he was Snape." I'm like, I don't care if he's Snape. Do I look like I give a crap about Harry Potter? And they're like, "Oh no, a whole generation of kids loved Harry Potter." I'm like,
You know what's funny? Not to go back to softball, but when I was in grade school, probably 5th grade, we used to play softball during gym.
Yeah.
And there was only one kid who could hit it over the fence.
Right.
And I drove by that field or whatever, and I was thinking to myself, you know what? I'm not even sure I could hit it over the fence now. But there was a kid in 5th grade when I was who could hit it over.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm not even convinced now that I can do that.
Yeah. And that's why when I was playing softball, when we were playing softball on the team, I'm like, I couldn't, even when I played baseball, I couldn't hit it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, when we had our practices, I wanted so bad to hit one over the fence. I just couldn't do it.
Yeah, I would, this is how sad and pathetic I am, okay? I would stand at second base and try and hit it over the fence just to prove that I could hit it over the fence. And I'm still just hitting line drives and grounders. Friend,
Yeah, it's like I want to hit a home run so bad.
Yeah, I'm going to take it and throw it over the fence. That's basically it. But
I'll be like, I'm going to end up like Tom Hanks in Bachelor Party when he's playing tennis and he hits it.
oh, yeah. Yeah, oh, right. He hits the tennis ball over the fence. He throws his arm up. Yeah, Ted, that's the sad life of Fred Hunt. That's why I got the black cloud and you have the cold
Nah,
rain.
I got the same story.
So we're doing the webcast, and maybe my goal is maybe by season 3 of Superstore, maybe they'll be making jokes about Fred and Ted. Maybe that'll be my new goal, to be made fun of on a national level instead of a local level at work. Jen's not making fun of us. I hope. I don't think she's making fun of us, but I think that our other boss is making fun of us. So I'm not too worried about that guy though. All right, David Bowie. Oh, Bowie. It's not Bowie knife. Bowie.
I'm putting my glasses on so I could see Carrie Fisher from the original Star Wars.
Oh yeah, I feel bad for Carrie Fisher because she seems to have had a really hard life, and they made her lose weight. Oh yeah, I like that. Yeah, it's a picture of Leia in Return of the Jedi bikini. So yeah, this is all Star. I have to see Star Wars. So, but I think the only thing I wanted to do, Hateful Eight. I'm gonna end up seeing that. But I don't think there was anything else in this Entertainment Weekly that I wanted to talk about. I brought it so I wouldn't forget about Superstore, because they had that thing in there. Why is there a picture of Richard Pryor in here? The Richard Pryor discography. Did you own any Richard Pryor
No.
CDs? No. Did you own any CDs of I'm not
Any
being a smart
CDs,
ass.
period?
No, I don't mean it like that. Do you own any CDs or albums of any comedians?
I have, like, one of my friends taped me some Andrew Dice Clay,
Oh, okay.
like on a cassette tape.
See, because I can almost name it off my head. Okay, I have some Norm Macdonald that I downloaded. I love Norm Macdonald.
Yeah.
Right, and if it was I would download everything, but I can't listen to him over and over again.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? I'm not a kid anymore. I can't listen to the album.
Well, see, now that's something I have on CD. Is you made me a CD with Artie and who's that other guy?
Oh, that De Palma guy.
Yeah. Yeah, Nick DiPaolo.
Yeah.
And also there was some Norm Macdonald on it too.
Okay. Yeah.
So there's.
It's probably the thing but I got Bobcat Goldthwait. I got one of his tapes from when I was a kid. I love that. I think Bobcat Goldthwait was awesome, but I don't think very many people agree with me. I love Sam Kinison. I want to say I own one tape and one album. I know I own that tape because I know where it still is. I used to own Bill Cosby albums. That bit just makes me so sad.
Mm-hmm.
Like thinking about that, like what Bill Cosby has turned into. And, going back to the Lawrence Phillips analogy, nobody knew about this. Let me rephrase that. Me and you didn't know about this. Did you ever hear about Bill Cosby abusing women
No.
until it all hit the fan?
You know what's funny? I was thinking the other day, and it's probably because it's the time where I was growing up, the 80s.
Yeah.
Where I was a teenager. And, like, the people who were really big during the 80s, like Michael Jackson, Bill Cosby, Michael J. Fox, it's like, look at where they're at now. You know what I mean? Just a total... Well, Michael J. Fox is because he's sick.
That's not his fault.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the problem.
But still, they were almost godlike.
Yeah.
Small G. But, Michael Jackson's dead and...
Well, I hated Michael Jackson.
Well, I'm not saying whether you liked him or hated him, just how big they were.
Yeah, how big they went from the top of the hill to...
Yeah.
And Bill Cosby, holy cow. Like I said, it's just amazing to me. Bill Cosby is another reason the terrorists hate America. Well, not... They're like, oh, you abuse women and you drug them. What is the problem? Right? But, I mean, if you have money, you can sweep anything under the rug. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but
And when Bill Cosby dies, it's the same thing with Michael Jackson. When Michael Jackson died, people are crying, putting out wreaths, and 2 days later, they're like, he was a pedophile. Allegedly. You know what I mean? It's 2 days later, we still haven't heard the other side of David Bowie. Everybody's still saying great things. And that's why I don't think there was a really dark side of David Bowie. I did see one article from a Christian publication that said he was open with his sexuality. Let's be generous with that, right?
Yeah,
but that's not a bad thing. You are who you are.
Yeah.
And me and you have talked about this on the webcast before. That, to me, that's not a black mark on you.
No.
You know what I mean? But when Bill Cosby dies, they're not going to be talking about Wonderfulness, his album from 1966. They're going to be talking about the litany of women who came
Yeah.
out of the woodwork. And with Michael Jackson, with the you know, you listen to a Michael Jackson song, I never liked Michael Jackson, so it doesn't bother
Yeah.
me. But they're like, oh, I can't listen to Michael Jackson without thinking of the charges. Why were you listening to Michael Jackson in the first place? He sucked. What year did Thriller come out? 82?
I think so. 80,
Okay.
82 or
82, I
it
was,
was either 82 or 83.
well, we'll just say 82 for argument. I was 13 years old, okay? I was a smart enough kid not to listen to Michael Jackson. Okay, I kind of liked the Billie Jean video because he would dance and then the sidewalk would light
Yeah.
up. And then after I saw the video for the 10th time, I'm like, yeah, I get it. It's not that good of a song. And I was listening to, you know, that's when I was listening to Weird Al and Foreigner. I think the year that, you know, we brought up
So you
Foreigner.
probably didn't like Beat It, but did you like Weird Al Eat It?
Yeah, I did like that. I did like Eat It. I thought that was funny. And I thought it was funny that he would parody Michael Jackson. I'm like, these are all better songs than Michael Jackson. I said, and I remember, and this, you'll get a kick out of it. 13-year-old Fred is like, Weird Al's going to be around longer than Michael Jackson. I remember saying that as a kid. And I guarantee everybody else was like, Fred Hunt's crazy. Well, guess what? I was right about one thing when I was 13. Weird Al would still be around 30 years later, and Michael Jackson wouldn't. Well, you know, people who love Michael Jackson would probably be like, oh, he'd still be here if his doctor didn't kill him. Yeah. Who's to say that he wouldn't have, ended up on the wrong side, of, like OJ?
Yeah.
You know, they might not have got him for the crime he committed, but they'll get you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
One way or the other. So, all right, are you ready to wrap this up? I promoted the top 10s. I got everything on the outline. Do you want to promote anything?
No,
If you want to watch my movie, it's blasphemousthemovie.com. You can watch it for free. All you have to do is type in the webpage, blasphemousthemovie.com. I'm a star, Ted's a star, Joe the Empty Chair is a star. We're not promoting anything because he bought our Powerball tickets and he didn't buy a winner. You could buy my book, American Suicide. Go to Top 10s, even if it's not one of my crappy articles. Read Top 10s, toptenz.net, and maybe you'll get lucky and one of my old articles will pop up on a video.
Now, do you have any thoughts on the Browns' new coach? Was it Hugh Jackson?
Yes. Yeah, because Hugh Jackman is the Wolverine. Hugh, Hue, Jackson is our new coach.
Yeah.
Okay, do you know what my thoughts on him are?
No.
I'm gonna write it down because one of the problems I have is I slur my D's and T's, and I'm sorry, so I'm gonna make you read it. This is what I think of Hugh Jackson.
Fodder?
Yeah, he's fodder, which means in 2 years he'll be fired and there'll be another new coach.
Yeah, can you imagine that?
Oh yeah, I can imagine it because they'll be like, oh, the analytics said we were supposed to do this, and then we went 1-15, and then we went 4-12, and the analytics said we should have been going 8-8, and we were 4-12. You're fired.
Now, I assume that, did you listen to Sports Talk today?
Yeah, I did.
Are they generally on board with this guy, or do they?
Yeah, everything I heard, he's the best available coach. Impeccable resume. The only reason
We have heard this before, though, haven't we?
Yes. That's why what I remember when we got Mike Holmgren, some guy came on the radio and said Super Bowl within 5 years, and basically Mike Holmgren.
But he didn't specify the Browns, though.
Yeah. He just you could go back and say I didn't say Browns Super Bowl. I said there would be a Super Bowl.
There's definitely going to be a Super Bowl in 5 years.
Yeah, and basically, he was like, Mike Holmgren turned into our boss. He would come in at 10 in the morning, leave at 2. He'd cart around in the golf cart wearing Hawaiian shirts and say, okay, guys, let's win.
And in the past, he would work like 20 hours a day, like when he was with the...
Yeah, but then once he got paid, he's like, I really like sitting in the office and getting paid more than actually being on the field. Let me be accurate and let me be clear. My name is Fred Hunt. Mike Holmgren.
I approve this message.
Yeah, I approve of this message. Mike Holmgren stole money from Randy Lerner. Number one, Randy Lerner was too stupid to know he was getting money stolen from him. And number two, Mike Holmgren should be in jail for the money that he stole. That's how I feel. And listen, there's no problem with Hugh Jackson. Everything I've heard is glowing, no problems. But he's coming to the Browns. Unless he is going to come here with a magic wand and trade. Here's what he's going to have to do, okay? He's going to have to trade Johnny Manziel. He's going to have to trade Josh Gordon. He's going to have to trade Joe Thomas. He's going to have to basically get 7 to 8 new draft picks. They're going to have to trade, and they're going to have to draft like 20 people to turn all this junk that's on our roster over right now.
I'm almost starting to think that maybe there's like lead in the water here or something because it seems like we could get a genius and they come here and they're like, what?
Yeah. Well, I remember writing to KNR, it was Munch Bishop at the time, and I said, is there any way that people just don't want to come here because everybody's getting staph infections? Like they're afraid of Cleveland. And he goes, haha, he wrote back to me back when he used to be on during the day and I'd write to Munch Bishop. And he was very nice and he'd write back to me. Okay? He didn't write back to Fred Hunt. He wrote to Fred in North Intro. Right?
Yeah.
But he would write back to me and he goes, haha, Fred. I'm like, no, I'm being serious. Are people really afraid to come to Cleveland because of staph infections? And then he wasn't on during the day anymore. So they put him on at like 4 a.m. I felt really bad for him. But, but I liked Munch Bishop. But yeah, Hugh Jackson's going to get the same thing. Unless he binges and purges, literally gets rid of all the troublemakers, starts from scratch. And I mean starts from scratch head to toe, top to bottom. Everybody's got to go. And, even people who are decent, Dante Whitner. Called an average team in the NFC. Who's the average team in the NFC? Detroit Lions.
Average. Yeah.
Call the Detroit Lions, trade our Dante Whitner for their Dante Whitner just for a change of scenery. You know what I mean? You literally have to cough up everything and start from scratch. And say, we're all in this together, and we're not going to we're going to see how things are going. He said today that, I'm going to see everybody individually. But it's the smart thing because they got to get rid of Johnny Manziel, right?
And is he going to?
I think he's going to.
Yeah.
And I'm glad you didn't let me turn off the webcast because I think we had one prediction. Let me look in the folder real quick. What day is today? The 13th, 14th?
14th.
I have one prediction. Ted, I apologize. The last 3 webcasts I have been super bad about predictions. We have one prediction this week, okay? January 10th, 2016, okay? There were 6 games left in the season for Johnny Manziel, and we made this prediction on November 18th. What will Johnny Manziel's record be the last 6 games that he starts? Well, you remember, as soon as they made him the starter, they caught him drinking, and they said, you're not the starter anymore. Right?
Yeah.
So down the stretch, they put him in 3 games. Is that correct? They put him in 3 games. He won 1 and lost 2. Is that correct?
I believe so, yeah.
Okay, so the right answer is he didn't get suspended. He got the right answer is he got demoted for 2 games. He went 1 and 2, and then he had a concussion, and I have air quotes. He got a concussion and did not start the last game. So, with that in mind, the correct answer, what will Johnny do in his last 6 games? He was demoted for 2 games, 1 win, 2 losses, and he got a quote-unquote concussion.
A concussion.
Did I spell it wrong?
No.
Oh, okay. I thought I really did. I'm like, my daughter, she's in middle school, and she spells so bad. Not smells, spells. S-P-E-L-L-S. She spells so bad, and then when I make fun of her, you know how he spelled fodder? Because I can't say it right? This is how she keeps spelling tomorrow. Okay? Okay, she spells tomorrow with an A. Okay? And she doesn't have enough vowels. Tomorrow is not the hardest word to spell. And I pointed out to her, and she's like, you know what I mean? Okay, so I really thought I spelled concussion wrong. I'm sorry. Okay.
It's funny because you're talking about your daughter's difficulties spelling, and you say, and then when I make fun of her,
Yeah.
it's like
Yeah. Yeah.
there's nothing wrong with doing
Yeah,
that.
I'm a great dad. I'm going into Dad Hall of Fame. So anyhow, so that was the right answer. The predictions were, I said he would go 1-1 and he would have a season-ending injury. I was not that far off.
Yeah. You
Would you
were
say
pretty
that
close.
was pretty
Yeah.
close? So I think I win the close. And then the next person said 0-6, minor injury. Now, who said he would go 0-6?
I believe it was Joe.
I believe Joe
yeah.
said he would go 0-6.
I said 3-3.
And then you said 3-3. Okay, well, technically, okay, Joe, again, we're going to go on, because nobody was exactly right. Joe was the most wrong, and that's what he gets for not being here, so we can make fun of him. He would go 0-6. To be honest with you, the reasons they lost weren't necessarily because of him. He
No.
was playing better.
I honestly, I don't think the reasons they lost any of the games were because of the quarterbacks.
Yeah, because Josh McCown, he played good too.
Yeah.
He didn't play that bad. And so he predicted 0-6, and he was dead wrong. And you predicted 3-3. But I could also argue with you, maybe if he played, maybe if he would have played all 6 games, maybe he would have been 2-4 instead of 1-2.
Yeah.
He was on the pace to go 2-4. That's not that different than 3-3.
Yeah, see, I should have known better that he wouldn't play all 6 games
Yeah.
because of who he is.
So I give myself the victory. Would you say that's fair?
Yeah.
I was the
Yeah, you
most
were-
right. And then I would say you were second because, like I said, if you project that out, 1 and 2 would be 2 and 4. And I could see them winning 2 out of 6 games. So you were second most right. But I knew he wasn't going to play 6 games. He is a knucklehead. So I win. I was the most right. And why do I do predictions? Because I love to be right. It doesn't happen very often, and when I am,
So
I'm
this
even
is
going to write
like,
it.
you winning
Fred
this is like the same type of win when you hit the fly ball into the outfield.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That is exactly like hitting the fly ball out into the outfield. That's a perfect analogy. Because I'm like, yeah, I'm the most right. And I literally got nothing. And there's somebody, like, say somebody...
I got the ball closest to the fence.
Yeah,
yeah.
If say we had listeners, pretend like we have listeners. Say they would text in right now. They'd be like, you literally win nothing, loser. You know what I mean? So I get nothing out of it. So, all right. Well, we made our promotions. We did do that one prediction. That was the one. Next week, Ted, remind me. Don't let me start the webcast without doing at least 3 predictions because I've slacked off the last 3 weeks with predictions.
Next week is a long time from now.
I predict that we will do it one more time, at least one more time. Would you say hopefully we come back next week?
What, the webcast?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Unless we, I could see a way that we don't. We didn't win the Powerball, so we're still doing it. But I get the...
Now, will Joe be here next week?
He said he will be, but again, last week Joe was sick. That's why he left. He really was sick. Okay? But this week, he was angry, and we're not going to discuss why he was angry. He was not angry with me. Is that correct?
Not that I know of. Was he
And-
angry with me?
He was not angry with you, but he was angry with someone in this building that we won't talk. We won't diverge anymore. I've spoken too much. I'm going to be quiet now.